Good morning, friends. Earlier we discussed about the GEIGER-Marsden's experiment of scattering of the alpha particle from the gold coin. Now, in this lecture, we start our discussion from what are the results of this experiment and also the Rutherford's argument for alpha scattering particle. Now, the question is that discuss the result of GEIGER-Marsden's experiment of alpha particle scattering. Now, we also discuss in GEIGER-Marsden's experiment some alpha particles are scattered at less scattering angle, while some alpha particles are scattered at large scattering angle, and some of them alpha particles are scattered in wave direction. So here the graph of number of the scattered alpha particle versus the scattering angle is shown in the figure. Here in this graph, the growth represents the data points. What are the data obtained from the experiment are represented by the dot, and the curved line, that means the solid line, is the theoretical points based on the assumption that the atom has the positively charged nucleus. From the theoretical basis, we view the curved line. Both are superposed on each other. Again, the point represents what are the data obtained from the experiment, and the solid line represents the theoretical points based on the assumption that the atom has the positively charged nucleus. Now, the meaning of the alpha particle passes through the thin foil. It means that they do not suffer any collision. The most of the alpha particles can pass through the gold foil. That means the scattered at less angle. Now, only about 14% of incident alpha particle scattered by more than 1 degree scattering angle. So just we told about that. The many of the alpha particle passes through the gold foil without suffering any collision with the atoms of the gold foil. Only about 14% of the incident alpha particle scattered by more than 1 degree angle, and about 1 out of 8,000 deflected by more than 90 degrees. That means the very less number of the alpha particles are scattered at either 90 or more than 90 degree angle. So most of the passes through the gold foil. Only about 14% alpha particles are scattered. The most of them are passing this way without suffering any collision. The most of the alpha particles are scattered directly. Only 14% alpha particles are scattered at the angle more than 1 degree. This. And 1 alpha particle out of 8,000 deflected by more than 90 or 90 degree angle. Only 1 out of 8,000 incident alpha particle are scattered at more than 90 degrees. That is the result of the GEIGER-Marsden's experiment of scattering of alpha particle from the gold foil. Now, what are the arguments of Rutherford about the scattered alpha particle? Our next question is that explain Rutherford's argument for scattered alpha particles. And in the base of this, the Rutherford suggested the nuclear model for the atomic model. Rutherford argued that the large number of the alpha particles are scattered at very small angle. That means the atom must be largely hollow. He argued that again the large number of the alpha particles are scattered at very small scattering angle. So it represents that the atom must have the largely hollow. That means the atom is hollow and its size is very large. Now, the most of the mass of the atom is concentrated at its center and it has the positive charge. Then Coulomb repulsion force may act between positive charge nucleus and alpha particle, then incoming alpha particle. Again, the most of the atom is the mass of the mass of the atom is concentrated in the nucleus at the center, and it has the positive charge. Then the Coulomb repulsion force may be act between the charge of the nucleus and alpha particle. Now, then the incoming alpha particle could get very close to the positive charge nucleus without penetrating it, and it will be reflected. So what it says that, just we discussed about that the nucleus possesses the positive charge. When the alpha particle is moving towards the atoms, at that time it suffers the polarizer. Right? Therefore, incoming alpha particle could get closely to the nucleus, and then it is deflected. Then it is deflected due to the Coulombian repulsion force act by the nucleus of this alpha particle. Okay? The most of the mass of the atom is concentrated at its center, and it has the positive charge. Then Coulombian repulsion force may act between the positive charge of the nucleus and alpha particle. Due to this, the incoming alpha particle could get very close to the nucleus, and then it is deflected without penetrating the nucleus. So this argument supported the hypothesis of nuclear atom. From this hypothesis, we get the idea or suggested the nuclear atomic model. He argued that the electron is at short distance from the nucleus. It revolves around the nucleus in a fixed orbit, while the alpha particle first traveling towards the nucleus. Because outer orbit of the nucleus, the electron ion, this electron applies the force of attraction on the alpha particle. Due to that result, the alpha particle are attracted by the electron, and then it enters in the orbit of the electron, it suffers the repulsion force. Due to this repulsion force, these alpha particles are deflected without penetrating. Rutherford's experiment suggested the size of nucleus to be about of 10⁻⁻14 meter to 10⁻⁻15 meter. Again, the Rutherford's experiment suggested the size of nucleus to be about 10⁻⁻15 meter to 10⁻⁻14 meter. So, Rutherford, from his experiment, he decided that the size of the nucleus is about 10⁻⁻15 meter to 10⁻⁻14 meter. While in the kinetic theory, the size of atom to be about 10⁻⁻10 meter. While in the kinetic theory, the size of the atom is 10⁻⁻10 meter, is about 10,000 to 1 lakh times larger than the size of the nucleus. So keep in mind these sentences. There is the most important for MCQ type question. Frequently the question is asked, the size of the nucleus, size of the atoms. Size of the atoms is how much times the more than the size of the nucleus. So 3 different questions may be asked from these sentences. Rutherford's experiment suggested that the size of the nucleus is to be about of 10⁻⁻15 meter to 10⁻⁻14 meter. From kinetic theory, the size of the atom is to be about 10⁻⁻10 meter, is about 10,000 to 1 lakh times more than the size of the nucleus. So there is the argument of the Rutherford about the scattering of the alpha particle, and from this he proposed the atomic model. And according to his atomic model, the small central volume of the atom possesses the most of the mass of the atoms and positive charge, while the electron revolve around the nucleus in a circular orbit. Clear? Okay. Okay, after the discussion of the argument of Rutherford about the scattering of the alpha particle, what is the atomic model suggested by or the proposed by the Rutherford? So in this lesson we are going to discuss about explain the Rutherford's atomic model and its limitation. Because the Rutherford's atomic model cannot fulfill all the requirement of the atom, is not completely fit with classical mechanics and also the quantum mechanics. Okay, here we discuss this thing in limitation of Rutherford's atomic model. First, Rutherford's atomic model. So according to the Rutherford's atomic model, the entire positive charge and most of mass of the atom is concentrated in small volume of the atom. This small volume, small central volume, is known as the nucleus. And the electron revolving around the nucleus in fixed orbit or circular orbit. So, according to the Rutherford suggestion or the purpose or the argument, the Rutherford suggested that atomic model in that the entire positive charge and most of the mass of the atom is concentrated in small volume of the atom. This small volume is known as the nucleus, and electrons revolving around the nucleus in fixed circular orbit. That is the Rutherford's atomic model, and according to that, the small central region is known as the nucleus, while the electrons are revolve around the nucleus in circular orbit. So that is the atomic model suggested or proposed by the Rutherford. Now, what are the limitations of Rutherford's atomic model? According to the classical physics, there is no constraint on the radius of the orbit of the electron. Here, outside the nucleus, numbers of the circular orbits are present. There is no limitation on the electron to move in which circular orbit around the nucleus. So, electron moving in circular orbit according to its energy and from the accelerated motion. Again, according to the classical physics, there are no constraint on the radius of the orbit of electrons, because surrounding the nucleus by the numbers of the circular orbit. Out of these numbers of the orbit, in which orbit the electron can revolve. So here, the electron can revolve in a circular orbit according to its energy, and during the circular motion, the motion of an electron is accelerated motion. Is the accelerated motion. Now, according to the classical electromagnetic theory, an accelerated charge radiates the energy in form of electromagnetic radiation. So when the electron revolves in circular orbit according to its energy, so its motion becomes the accelerated motion. Now, according to the classical electromagnetic theory, the accelerated charge radiates energy in form of electromagnetic waves. It radiates the energy in form of EM waves, so that its orbit would not be circular. Because the energy of the electron is continuously decreases. As the energy of the electron continuously decreases, therefore the radius of the circular path is also going to decrease. So its energy goes on decreasing so that its orbit would not be circular. It will be spiral and terminating at its nucleus as shown in the figure. Again, what it says that according to the classical physics, there is no constraint on the radius of the orbit of electrons. Here, numbers of the orbits around the nucleus are possible. Out of those orbits, electron revolve in which orbit? First thing. So, electron revolve in a circular orbit according to its energy and perform the accelerated motion. Because the circular motion is accelerated motion, direction of acceleration is continuously changes, not the velocity. Therefore, this motion is accelerated motion. Now, according to the classical electromagnetic theory, an accelerated charge radiates the energy in form of electromagnetic waves. Hence, its energy going on decreasing so that its orbit would not be circular. It will be spiral, terminating at its nucleus as shown in the figure. So, according to the classical electromagnetic theory, the orbit of the electron is not completely circular, but there is a spiral. Now, one more thing. The frequency of the electromagnetic wave emitted by the revolving electron is equal to the frequency of revolution. Now, what it says here, the frequency of electromagnetic radiation emitted by the revolving electron is equal to the frequency of revolution. What is the frequency of the revolution of electron in circular orbit? According to its frequency, it radiates the EM waves, electromagnetic waves with this frequency. As the electrons spiral inward, their angular velocity and hence their frequency would change continuously. And so, with the frequency of the light emitted, it also going to changes or the decreases. But they would emit a continuous spectrum of contraction to the light spectrum actually observed. What it says there? As the energy decreases, the radius of the circular path is also going to decrease, and hence what is the frequency of radiation is also continuously going to decrease. But actually, whatever the spectrum we obtain, this spectrum is continuous. Right? Here the frequency is same, not decreases. So that is the contradictory sentence, but the contradictory to the light spectrum actually observed. Hence, the Rutherford's atomic model states that the classical ideas are not sufficient to explain the atomic structure. So, Rutherford's atomic model states that the classical mechanics are not sufficient to explain the atomic structure, because this model helps to understand the stability of an atom. So, in short, the Rutherford's atomic model cannot explain the stability of an atom. Again, what is the Rutherford's atomic model? According to the Rutherford's atomic model, the entire positive charge and most of the mass of the nucleus is concentrated in small volume, and that is known as the nucleus. While the electrons revolve around the circular orbit around the nucleus. So that is the Rutherford's atomic model. After that, the limitation of Rutherford's atomic model. According to the classical physics, there is no constraint on the radius of the orbit of electron. It means around the nucleus, the numbers of the circular orbits are present. Out of those orbits, the electron revolves in which orbit? So, according to its energy, and perform the accelerated motion. Now, according to the classical electromagnetic theory, an accelerated charge radiates energy in form of electromagnetic waves. That means, when the electron evolves in circular orbit, it performs the accelerated motion, and during this accelerated motion, it radiates the energy in form of electromagnetic radiation. Hence, its energy goes on decreasing so that its orbit would not be circular. So, as the energy is radiated, therefore the energy of the electron in particular orbit, it continuously decreases, therefore its orbit is not completely circular, but there is the spiral. So, it will be spiral terminating at its nucleus as shown in the figure. Now, one more thing, the frequency of the electromagnetic waves emitted by the evolving electron is equal to the frequency of revolution. With whatever the frequency the electron is evolving in circular orbit, during this evolution, the frequency of emitted electromagnetic radiation both are same. Here the energy decreases, therefore the radius of the circular orbit decreases, therefore the frequency of emitted electromagnetic radiation also decreases. Right? Now, as the electron spiral inwards, suppose the electron is spiral inward direction, that is towards the nucleus. The angular velocity and hence the frequency would changes continuously. And so, with the frequency of the light emitted, it also changes. So here not we obtain the continuous frequency or the continuous radiation of electromagnetic waves with constant frequency. Here the frequency is continuously decreases because if the electrons spiral inwards, their angular velocity and their frequency would decreases continuously. Therefore, whatever the electromagnetic radiation take place, its frequencies also decreases. There is a contradiction to the line spectrum actually observed. But actually, whatever the line spectrum observed, it has a continuous frequency. So these two facts are not matched each other. Next, hence the Rutherford's atomic model states that the classical mechanics or the classical idea are not sufficient to explain the atomic structure, because this model helps to explain the stability of the atom. So, Rutherford's atomic model cannot explain the stability of atom. It means if the electron evolves on a circular path, this spiral path, so at last there is the terminated in the nucleus. So after some time, no any electron can evolve in the nucleus. All the electrons are gathered in nucleus. So how the atom can remain stable? So this stability of an atom cannot be explained by the Rutherford's atomic model. So in short, the Rutherford cannot clarify the electron evolved in a circular orbit and how its orbit is changed. Clear this? So this is the limitation of Rutherford's atomic